Dalaran, the city of mages. The city founded by the Kirin Tor and home to many a weary traveler. Now, there's actually 3 taverns in Dalaran, but I chose to attempt to build the Legerdemain Lounge, which is open to both the Horde and the Alliance. I'm not really sure that I captured the entire aesthetic of the build. There's a lot of things that you can do with art that you can't do in The Sims 4, but I think I captured the spirit at least. This was a really hard build, but it was a lot of fun, and honestly, I'm kind of happy with it. Like I said, you can't do everything in The Sims, but you can do a lot, and I tried to do my best. With all of that being said, let's see how I did. So the first thing I wanted to do is kind of just modify the terrain. I noticed when I was running around in World of Warcraft in Old Dalaran, which is what I based this build on, not Legion, that Dalaran's kind of a hilly place. And I wanted to make sure that I had the door that faces Sunreaver Square to be a little bit different height than the door that faces the fountain and everything. So I went through and I spent probably far too much time messing around with this. I was popping in and out of World of Warcraft and then in and out of The Sims. And, you know, it was a fun day though. I took so many screenshots and so many reference videos and everything. In fact, I actually started this build the night before I ended up finishing it, and the build that I started last night, I completely scrapped this morning after going back into World of Warcraft and looking at everything. I don't know about you, but I don't know if you've ever tried building anything in The Sims that's based on another video game franchise. It is so much harder than I would have thought. But I'm having so much fun with it. And a lot of it is because, I don't know if you know right now, I don't know if you care, but right now I am currently doing a World of Warcraft Forgotten Realms tiny town inspired Let's Play, where a lot of my different characters are going to have builds inspired by World of Warcraft, and I've been running around and doing my own little challenges, and one of the things that my characters are going to have to do is build a common area that I'm thinking is probably going to be an inn of some sort, and I'm trying to decide which is going to be the best common area, which will be the best style of inn. And I thought about it for a while, and I said, you know what? I'm going to do a bunch of different build videos doing different styles of inns, and then probably let everybody vote which one they think is their favorite. I mean, it also is going to matter kind of how much money each character makes, but that's all part of the fun. And considering that making money in The Sims 4 is not the most impossible of all things, I think it's going to be doable. The one thing that I'm still not happy about with this build is the Towers of Dalaran. They're very, very hard to do, and especially using actual build materials. I did think maybe I could just take a debug item and scale it up if I could find anything that looked like a tower, but I really didn't find much. But overall, even though the windows are not exactly the same on the bottom, I'm pretty dang pleased with it. Also, I spent far too much time trying to get the Legerdemain Lounge sign. I I went with this round one for a while. You'll see later on in the video, though, I actually ended up changing it. Also, I noticed that there is sort of a cloud motif on the side of the buildings in Dalaran, which you can't really do in The Sims. I did the best I could. Again, I feel like I'm just going to be saying that a lot. But it is very much true. This one was a stretch. And I think it's going to be even more of a stretch when I try to build some of the more Horde-inspired buildings. I think next week I might try to do a Zandalari troll style inn. I think that could be a lot of fun. Let me know in the comments down below what style in World of Warcraft you would like to see me attempt to build in, and I'll give it a try. I've already done my version of the Lion's Pride Inn, which is the infamous inn in Goldshire. It'll be on the Sims 4 Builds playlist. I'll link it somewhere in the doobly-doo. But honestly, I'm thinking I might have to redo that build because I've learned a lot since then, and I think I could actually do it better. Also, the glitch with curved walls and the shadows down there at the bottom just absolutely make me insane. So here I am just kind of doing the towers. Again, I'm not really thrilled with how they turned out, but they'll do for now. I also noticed there is a distinct lack of purple for roofs in The Sims. Somebody should get on that. Now, I was going to put that this is a no CC speed build because I don't usually use very much custom content in my speed builds, but then I remembered I put one CC picture in the upstairs bedroom in the Legerdemain Lounge, so no longer can I call it a truly no CC speed build. I'm also not really sure how usable this build is going to be. I mean, it does have 2 bedrooms, and I did decide that despite the fact that there is no bathroom in the Legerdemain Lounge, most actual inns, I'm assuming, would have a bathroom somewhere, so a little bit later on, I go ahead and actually build a bathroom. Pretty much all that's left now is trying to get the interior right. Unfortunately, the big ceiling beams were another thing that I couldn't figure out how to do. So the ceiling in here is just sort of a nice smooth marble. The ceilings upstairs I did as just a wood beam type thing. I played around with various bars, and I eventually decided on this nice long bar because it just seemed to fit. And then I wanted to extend it a little bit because the bar in World of Warcraft goes the entire length, but then I realized eventually you might actually want a sim to get back there, so a little bit later on I did actually go ahead and shorten it. So pretty much all that is left is just kind of picking out wallpapers, kind of decorating everything, making sure that there are the tables, the bookcases. I wanted to make sure that the bookcases that I picked had a slot that you could occasionally put a secret magical tome from Dalaran. I don't know if you're aware or not, but that is one of the places that the tomes for the well-read achievement actually spawn. So I was like, yeah, gotta make sure that the bookcases work. And then I also kind of wanted short enough bookcases, because looking at the bookcases in the Legerdemain Lounge, I noticed that they were kind of short, not really all that tall. I also really like the whole flagstone floor thing. And I even tried to make the little landing that is going up the stairs, which you'll see here in a little bit. So other than that, how are you guys all doing? I mean, I'm doing pretty good. I'm actually getting pretty tired of winter. I don't know if you want to hear about my life, but today I actually went outside after we got about 3 inches of snow in the span of about an hour. It was literally a whiteout condition outside for a little while, and that made me very, very sad. I got the silliest picture of a squirrel who was completely coated in snow. He looked like Squirrely the Snowman, which made me laugh. But after that was all said and done, I had to do the next least favorite part of winter where I live, which is the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and that is going out and shoveling. I always try to tell myself that shoveling is actually good for me and exercise, etc., and so on, but I'm not really sure that I believe myself. I don't know. I don't hate winter, but I'm never going to claim that I absolutely love it either. I had so much trouble finding pictures for this build that kind of fit the whole World of Warcraft aesthetic. Not 100% sure that I got it. The painting that I kind of cobbled together there behind the table in the back, it's basically, I think, supposed to be a picture of Crystal Song Forest in the game itself. Didn't have anything like that in The Sims, but I wanted to at least capture the colors of it. And I also thought about putting an actual oven in this place, since in the Legerdemain Lodge you can actually cook because there's a little stove in the corner. I ended up just going with one of the little Sims fireplaces that kind of has the same vibe. Maybe not perfectly. You can't cook on this in The Sims, but it's got the same vibe, and at this point I was going mostly on vibes, trying to find things that I felt like fit the World of Warcraft idea without being too insane. Anyway, back to the snow. So we got about 1.5 inches of snow last night. And then this afternoon we got another 3 inches. So that was 5 inches of snow that had to be shoveled off of my 400-foot long driveway. I was not looking forward to it. So a good 3/4 of the day I actually spent doing this build. I have it sped up pretty decently, but this probably took me about 5 hours all told. I took a break to make dinner and eat and kind of veg out a little bit, but then I just came right back to it and did the upstairs, kind of a little bit of the extras, and then I decided it was probably time to actually go out and tackle the snow. Not my favorite thing, and when I got outside, I had a wonderful surprise. I have the best neighbors ever, and one of my neighbors has a snowblower, except it's bigger than a normal snowblower. This snowblower is mounted onto a tractor, and he actually did about a little over half of my driveway. So kudos to that neighbor. How they managed to sneak up, I was gonna say I don't know, except I do know. I had headphones on, I was jamming out to music and building this speed build. So the next time I see the neighbor, I'm going to have to maybe make them some cupcakes or something. All right, now we're just on to decorating the bottom. I just wanted to make sure that it kind of felt lived in. I especially wanted to make sure that there were wine glasses on all the tables, because if you've ever done the cooking dailies in Dalaran, you know that there is one cooking daily where you go and make a wine and cheese platter using leftover wine and stealing some cheese. It's honestly one of the quests that just makes me giggle. Alright, this is also when I decided that I probably should put a bathroom in and maybe switch up the decorations on the little landing, because I remembered that there were kind of boxes and a treasure chest and a cat, which I did find not too long ago because I went in and just wanted to take a look at one last look at the build. And I found the debug cat, and I actually put a debug cat on that landing, so that's kind of fun. So now it's on to just doing the upstairs, where I also quickly discovered that The Sims has something against purple. I don't know exactly what, but it's really hard to find build items in purple that actually the purples match. So most of my purples in this build don't actually match. I mean, it is what it is, right? And the first bedroom, I wasn't too upset with. I was actually quite pleased with how it turned out. It has the same feel as the upstairs room in the Legerdemain Lounge. But the second bedroom, I quickly discovered that although 4 beds fit quite nicely in the room in Dalaran, 4 beds do not fit in a room this size unless I had thrown in toddler beds, which I didn't want to do. So I compromised and just did 2 beds, and we're just going to call it good. Great? Probably not, but at least good enough. So then I just had to find beds that kind of fit the vibe. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect, but it does have to at least fit the vibe. And the beds in Dalaran were sort of an orangish and 4-poster. So I just went ahead and popped in a couple of little beds there, gave them each a little trunk at the end because that just seems to be fitting. And just kind of found a rug that is along the same lines and a couple little side tables. I think, honestly, I'd stay there. I mean, I'd also stay at any of the inns in World of Warcraft. Caveat to that, any of the inns that are either neutral or on the Alliance side, no hate, no shade to Horde inns, but have you ever noticed how the inns in the Horde areas, almost all of the Horde areas anyway, are just kind of straw pallets on the floor or a hammock? The hammock, I could mess with the hammock, but a straw pallet on the floor? No, that one doesn't sound fun at all. So then it's just kind of putting up the last couple pictures. Now, the picture that's in this bedroom is actually supposed to be the same picture as the one downstairs, and I couldn't remember how I had done the one downstairs because it had been a few hours and I had eaten. So this is where I put my one piece of custom content in there. I don't think that would actually matter too much unless you're searching for this build on the gallery, which I will upload this build to the gallery if you are interested in downloading it. My EA ID is just CSTI. I've got a decent amount of things on there. I'm not sure that they're all that great, but they're a lot of fun. I have a lot of fun building in The Sims. It's funny though, you wouldn't think that having the camera on and recording would make any sort of a difference, but I've noticed it does. Mostly that I just don't feel like I can walk away and not just keep building. In some ways it's good and in some ways it's bad. It keeps me going, so that part's at least good. Speaking of keeping going, we are now almost done. I'm going to have a walkthrough at the very end, so stay tuned for that. It's just going to be a quick little first person walk through the actual build itself. Mostly now it was just digging through the debug menu, which I love debug, but at the same time I can spend a lot of time in debug. I decided to just put a couple of little walls in, just along the edges, just to kind of give the idea that the build goes on, that maybe it's all a part of Dalaran. And I liked the effect that it gave, so I'm not exactly upset about how that turned out at all. I also did not notice that the stairs had disappeared at that point. I did realize it later. Then, of course, if you're going to put a bathroom in the Legerdemain Lodge, you actually have to put stuff into the bathroom. So just a really basic bathroom. I thought about going a little bit crazy with it, just completely putting all sorts of things in it, but in the end, I decided simple is always the best. Or I got lazy. I don't know. One or the other. By the time I was done with this build, I was very much done with this build. I thought about putting in a hanging light, and I liked that, but it seemed like it was too bright with how dark the rest of the build was, so I didn't. Then just a little purple rug that you can stand on while you're doing your business. And speaking of doing your business, we are almost done. This is the point where I also realized that maybe having room for a sim to get back there and actually tend bar might be a good idea. Still not 100% sure that a sim can get back there, but I'll figure that out at some point later if I ever put this into any of my save files. So, like I said, I'm thinking about doing some more of these World of Warcraft inspired builds. So if you have any suggestions, drop it in the comments. I'm definitely thinking about possibly doing some Kultiran builds, seeing if maybe I can build a dwarven style tavern. I think that could be a lot of fun since so much of that is underground. I think a Zandalari style build might be a lot of fun, and probably another human build or two, and of course a few more elven style builds as well. But I don't know, I feel like this stretches the building muscles, and that's always good. So now we're just going to take a look at it, head up the stairs. I went way too fast with this, but that's okay. You kind of get the idea. And there we go. Thanks for watching. Please do hit the thumbs up on the way out, and I will talk to you later.